All right, here we go. Connected. Hey everybody, it's Jessa from iPad Rehab, and I am going to do a case with you guys on my channel and on Lewis's channel while Lewis is stuck in his shop waiting for an Uber driver to return his keys, which is probably never going to happen, so he's probably spending the night there. We have an iPhone 6S here. So this is an iPhone 6S, and it's been around the block, and it's a really warm, heartfelt Christmas story. I'm sure that we're going to be able to fix this iPhone and save the memories for our buddy Scott. So let's check in on who the heck is Scott. Scott is this guy. So we're going to go to the internet here. So let's see, where did I put my browser? I'm going to get in trouble if I don't know how to work the ZXW. Here we are at iFixit. This is iFixit Answers, and iFixit Answers has people writing in questions. Love iFixit, and this one is from a while ago. So it's from in the summer. So this is a guy, Scott. So Scott Hinckley says, in a lapse of judgment, I attempted to replace my wife's iPhone 6S screen, and something went wrong. And on power up to test the screen, I could smell that something fried. All right, I'm going to turn down Lewis's phone call. Here we go. All right, you're on super quiet. Okay. I think I got to turn that down. So this guy, I feel so bad for him. There's nothing wrong with trying to do your wife a favor and save some money and do your own DIY screen change. I mean, this would totally work out. So it didn't work out for poor Scott. Now let's think about this, because he says that something has fried. If you're doing a 6S, what's the common thing that goes wrong if you're doing a DIY screen change? And it's the same for everybody. If you forget to disconnect the battery, if you just don't do that little step, you have live VCC main voltage right at that backlight anode pin at the LCD connector. So live main voltage. And if you just take live voltage main and touch ground for a second, that's going to cause a huge current spike, and it pops that backlight filter almost 100% of the time. And here's the thing, guys. It also, 25% of the time, it will also blow the image filter. And that's what you got to watch out for. And I think that's what is going on here with Scott's phone. So let's see. We have, let's see, what did he do first? So I like Scott. I think he's trying to do so many creative things. So what he did was he did plug the phone in and saw that it could charge and it could connect to iTunes. But he couldn't enter that passcode because you have to be able to have touch and image in order to be able to enter the passcode to accept that trust dialogue and allow the computer to talk to the phone. So he wasn't able to do that. So he took the device, it says, to a reputable recovery and repair company in Houston who had the device for 8 months. That's never a good sign. No success. They replaced many components. That sounds pretty scary on what was certainly just a backlight or image problem. And they could never get the screen to be recognized by the device, so they couldn't do the trust. So then what did he do? Good old Scott had a clever idea, and he said, why don't you try using a USB keyboard and a set of keystrokes using a specific set of adapters to allow power to both. Now that is a great idea, and you actually can do that. We've had success with that in, I think it was just one really miracle case. There is a way with a combination of the right keystrokes, the right keyboard, the right wireless mouse, as long as you can get the device to connect to the internet, and that's the tricky part, especially if you're not at home. You have to be able to enable Siri for Siri's voice commands to work. If you can do that, then there is a way to kind of get around not having touch. But it didn't work out here for Scott. So he got the device back, and then it says, he went on and, hey, Lewis, oh my God, it's so true. People really do just throw money right at you on your stream. It's incredible. So thank you to EC Morgan 69 for $10. Thanks, Lewis and Jessica, for giving us all the benefit of your experience. Thank you for throwing money at the throne of Lewis. Love that. All right, so let's see. They sent the device to another place. So let's see, I had the device sent to Drivesavers, who said the device would not power on or connect to iTunes. Ooh, things have gotten way worse. So they sent it back as unrecoverable. So Drivesavers was not able to help him out at all. And now he's got it back, and he says it is worse off than before. Uh-oh, what's going on? Lewis is hard at work here. What are you doing? What are you doing to my stream? So he sent it to Drivesavers, would not power on or connect to iTunes when he got it back, so he's worse off than before, and now he has a device that will not power on top of what was described above. And then this breaks my heart. He says, I can beat you to the punch. It's ridiculous to have never backed it up, especially before working on it. That's the kind of sad stuff that they beat into you when you post on the Apple support community forum. Hey, listen, I have pictures of my kids on my phone right now today that are not backed up. And I do data recovery for a living. I get it. Life gets busy, and that little great Thanksgiving trip with all of the cousins all together, it's not backed up. And if I had to drop my phone in a toilet on the way out the door today, I would be having to do water damage repair on my own phone. I totally get it. It's don't beat yourself up, Scott. So that is in the past. I cannot go back. And this is what's really heartbreaking. The pictures and videos are priceless to my wife and I. I'm reaching out, hoping to find a way to recover the data. I saw a discussion here of people doing board swaps, things I haven't heard of. I don't need the phone to function beyond the ability to remove the data. I'm pretty desperate. And this is so sad. This is a major strain on my marriage, and when coupled with an already strained relationship, TMI, Scott. I wanted to give her this history back, and I want for Scott to be able to give his wife. Wouldn't this be an awesome Christmas gift? This would be pretty sweet, because this he posted in June, and it seems like he's been working on it for a year. So let's see. Is there a way to recover the data if the main board is not operable, scoured the internet, et cetera, et cetera? So this is the exact same post that Scott here he copied and pasted on the good old iPad Rehab intake form. So here it is here, and exactly the same as his post there on iFixit. So let's take a look, shall we? Let's see if we can help him out. So let's scroll down here. All right, let's see. Is that all right? I dropped my Galaxy Note in a toilet 5 years ago, and let me guess, it still works. I still have it. Well, fix that sucker up if you haven't already. All right, here's how we're going to start on this. So we're going to start by looking at the board under the microscope. So we're going to start with a good old microscope exam. So you guys can see here the housing. So his history, at least it started out as what was almost certainly a straight up backlight and maybe image problem on this device. So let's see. What does TMI stand for? The 45-year-old should not be having to tell anybody what acronyms are on the internet. Too much information. All right, so we can see the housing. Let's see. It's hard to see with my green screen. Is that going to autofocus? Hey, autofocus. What if I get really close? No. All right, so we can just see that his housing is not bent. That's what we really care about, bend, because bend is going to change things. We can see a piece of Scotch tape. Now, I don't know about you, but Scotch tape is apparently the electronically approved acceptable tape of whoever prior repair attempt folks are. I can see a broken antenna that's just ripped off for no reason. All right, so we've got that. We have the logic board itself, and we have the baggie. All right, so this is the, I'm sure, ESD safe bag that has by Hefty, and it's got a ticket number written by iPad Rehab, and this was apparently sent by one of the previous guys. And inside we have a bunch of small components, including a little bit of a broken off back plate where it looks like the home button was just kind of ripped off of there. All right, so that's what's going on. Nothing remarkable. Let's just call that sort of DIY, typical DIY presentation. Okay, so let's look at the board itself. All righty, let's see. Any phone without Apple is a great phone. All right, let's get rid of let's put the browser window to sleep, and we'll take a look at the board. So here we go. All right, here's the board. So let's take it from the top. All right, so We're looking for anything like water damage or excessive technician damage. So somebody's been here before us because we're missing the typical foam that goes there. Fair enough. Continuing on, no water damage. Typically, an iPhone 6s will have all of this coating on all of this waterproofing silicone on all of this stuff. So that has all been scraped off. So that's all been like painstakingly removed. There's a little bit still left here. See how there's some, I can remove a little bit of that silicone that's still there. So on a native iPhone 6s, this would be covering all of this stuff. So somebody has spent a lot of time in here. All right, now we can see a blob of solder there on one of the test points. All right, let's see. Jess, I really enjoy watching your videos. Your work teaches self-sufficiency, ingenuity, and keeps electronics from going to the dump. Big win. Thank you. Thank you for commenting. All right, here is a giant no-no. Never do this. This is, avert your eyes, people. It is a jumped backlight filter. Big no-no. And the reason why is because this scenario that happened to Scott is so super common. If you don't disconnect the battery, you have live voltage right here at the backlight pin. You have battery voltage. It just goes right through. There's a path from the battery straight to here. And think about how easy it is to just touch ground when you're plugging in that connector. It's going to happen all the time. And as a result, all the time, you're going to create a short to ground, and that will blow the backlight filter. But if you have shoved a quarter, like this guy, if you have shoved a piece of wire, like a quarter in the circuit breaker panel, then when you do that the next time, the next screen change, you're going to now cause a short to ground that's going to go through the wire, and it's going to go under here to the backlight diode, backlight chip, backlight coil, and you're going to really have a party in there that's going to be major renovations and screw up all kinds of stuff. So don't jump the backlight filter. It's not cool. Alrighty, so let's keep on with our tour of the board. We can see, aha, we've uncovered the other end of the broken antenna that somebody ripped off. Let's see, what else? Somebody's been here before. I see a little bit of flux. I see a lot of bit of flux in there. So this shield has probably been taken off and then put back on. We can look at it on the side and see a lot of flux on that edge. All right, crisp visual exam is really your best tool. I think your eyes are a better tool than even your microscope. A lot of flux on top of this shield. Again, somebody has dug all up in here and dug up what is normally covered with the silicone under waterproof stuff. All right, somebody has put a lot of solder here, and I'm not really sure why. Something that looks like they would have been soldering a wire there, presumably for short detection. There's a big blob of solder here on this little antenna bracket. This is a battery connector, and let's flip it over. All right, normally there's a sticker here. Oh, hello. I found one of the water damage stickers. Somebody has stuffed a water damage sticker over here by the TriStar chip. Aha! Aha! So it was water damaged, and they've taken off the sticker from where it normally lives up at the top of the phone, and they've shoved it under here by TriStar. All right, we'll just ditch that. But our eyeballs tell us that this phone has not been water damaged. There's no sign of water damage. Not sure what's going on here, though. It looks like somebody over at Drivesavers or the Houston place must have sneezed on the board or picked their nose and wiped it off there and just kind of kept on going. Nothing remarkable around here. All right, this is relatively normal in appearance around the NAND, relatively normal in appearance around the power management chip. And let's see, big old blob of solder. So somebody's stuck solder there. I don't know why. All right, stop talking hateful about Lewis. What? All right. Not a hardware guy, but I can see that you are not using the Lois method. All right, I bet she threw him in the basement. No, Lewis is patiently waiting to go home. That's all, waiting on the Uber driver, trying to get his Uber app to not crash. All right, here we go. Somebody has knocked off 2 capacitors. These are VCC main capacitors. I don't know why they would be gone unless somebody was troubleshooting a VCC main short, which is pretty unlikely. All right, let's go ahead and let's just go ahead and see, even though I'm kind of tempted to take these shields back off. Oh man, that's so gross in there. I think I will. Let's go ahead and take the shields off. So we are going to now desolder these shields. So on the iPhones, they have soldered on shields. Let's see if I can make this face cam turned into a desk cam. Maybe I can. Here we go. Is that going to work? Sure it will. Why not? Let's make this go over here. There we go. All right, so here's the method for taking off those pesky iPhone shields. All right, let's see. We are going to grab it with regular tweezers in a place where we can just kind of hold on to the shield itself. I don't know how to get the camera to autofocus. Focus up, mofo. All right, then we're just going to hold. This is max heat and max air. So this is 450 degrees Celsius. This is my JBC, max heat and max air, where we're trying to sear that off. And look how quickly that comes off. It comes off pretty quickly. That was super quick, and that's because it has been taken off before. All right, let's go for this shield. The bottom shield tends to be really difficult. Tends to take more heat because it's a bigger heat shield. You have to heat up a middle part here. So after it heats up for a little bit, then you want to be sure that you don't get a slide by making sure that drop is really, really low like that. And then you can just flip it right off. There you go. All right, now once you take off the shields, we're going to head back under the microscope to take a look to see what does it look like in those spaces that now we can suddenly see. So let's just go ahead and take off our camera. Let's see, take off that cam. All right, here we are. And now we can look under the thing. Thanks for the Celsius measurement. Yes, I am a scientist by training, and we will always use Celsius. Now this looks like motor oil. I doubt that Scott got so pissed that he just threw down his phone in a vat of motor oil, although it's a possibility. And instead, I think that's probably some dried flux from I don't know what. So this looks, if you erase that mentally, you can see this is kind of just flux damage. I don't think this was water damage. I think this is kind of like chemical treatment or something. Maybe it's water damage. There's a little bit of schmutz on there. We'll ignore that, and let's head up here. Whoa! Oh my goodness. This looks like somebody has been baking s'mores on this board. Look at this. Look at that. It is, I mean, it honestly smells in here. This smells like some kind of burned up caramel, honestly. I mean, it really does seem like Scott got kind of pissed, and he just melted a Tootsie Roll in his phone and said, screw this, and mailed it to Houston or Drivesavers or wherever. All right. So I don't know what's going on with that. I don't think I've ever seen a caramelized caramel corn board. That is what that is. I'm tempted to mail some to Lewis and have him eat it just to see it, because it seems like it would totally be like caramel corn coating. That's definitely what it is. The bigger the glob, the better the job. Yeah, that's probably what this guy went to that school. All right, so nothing really remarkable other than somebody was wiping their nose on this board after they simultaneously were eating cotton candy. A little bit of it dripped on the shield when they were soldering it back on. So that's the deal. All right. So let's go ahead. Baking s'mores on your board will void the warranty. Yes. So let's go ahead and do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to also take away make it so you guys can see green. And we're going to take this board and we are going to check and see what does it do on DC power supply. So our first question is this board actually know power brain dead or not? And the only way to tell that is to ask it to turn on with the DC power supply. So what I'm going to do is plug in my battery cables. And the first thing I want you guys that maybe fix MacBooks and don't fix phones every day is to see what does it look like on DC power on a normal phone. So we got to kind of know what normal is so that we can tell. Are we looking at a pattern that's a short circuit? Is it a short circuit on a main power rail, a minor power rail? Is the phone just brain dead? Each one of those things will have its own distinctive DC power supply current consumption signature. All right, so this is a working phone. This is a good old iPhone 6. You can tell because it says hours on it. So this is hours, and it says boots, experiment. Excellent. I love to do experiments. Let's do an experiment right now. All right, so I'm going to plug this in. I'm plugging in the iPhone 6 battery connector into this iPhone 6. Now, iPhone 6, 6S, all iPhones, and even iPads are going to more or less have the same DC power supply current signature. So let's look at how messy Jess's desk is. All right, here it is. This is the low rent. I don't have 600,000 subscribers, so I can't afford fancy stuff. DC power supply that we're going to look at the camera, and I'm going to hit the power button and see what happens. So here we go, power button. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is normal. If you can maybe start blinking your eyes and you can actually see it make sense. But we can see that it kind of clicks around until it finally gets up above 1. Let's do that again. All right, and we can see over here, I see an Apple logo and some backlight. So it clicks around 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.2. It goes up and down. If you were to graph that out, and it kind of makes like a little bit of an EKG. All right, so let's see that very alive and well is the normal signature on DC power supply. Let me check on this. I think that the current limit is set a little bit too low. I'm going to raise that up a little bit and do it one more time so that we can see it fully boot up. And then we would be looking at our phone of interest to see how similar is its current consumption to that very active pattern. All right, so I'm going to try that again. I've raised up the current limit. And you can tell, this says constant voltage. That's lit up when it was before it was clicking over and maxing out on constant current when it would hit that 1 amp. So I turned that up to 2 or 3 amps. So now we can see this is normal. It goes up above 1, 1.2, 1.1, not a lot up above 1. And now it's kind of come back down. And we can still see the Apple logo, and this phone is still booting up. This is what normal looks like. So we're going to burn that into our brains. All right, 1 amp. Someone has been short hunting. You and Lewis are live streaming at the same time. Oh my gosh, what are you going to do? All right. So we are going to consider that to be normal, and we're going to hit stop. And let's grab good old Scott's board. Somebody's going to be disappointed when they click over to my channel and see, oh, look at that. It's the exact same live stream as Lewis's channel. Yes, Lewis, I really want to know, those of you guys that watch my channel, how do you like my microphone? Lewis says, he says that he fixed my microphone so that I can yell and bang the table, and it's going to sound perfectly fine all the time. So please tell us if that is true. All right, Kelvin are for more accurate things. Fahrenheit is more useful. Yes, we thought it was funny, Mark did, that we would answer everybody's question in Kelvin on what temperature to use for whatever. All right, here is our phone. This is Scott's phone that, according to the note, the last person to see it said it does not boot, it will not be detected by iTunes. All right, so let's see if that is true. We're going to turn around and watch the DC power supply, and we're going to see if we think that it boots. Because it may be that it actually boots, but it doesn't detect USB, and maybe it doesn't make image, so then it kind of just appears to not boot. So we're going to prompt it to boot. And let's see, what do you guys think? How is that? What do we make of that? Let's see. What do you guys make of this? She needs new equipment. Yes, I do. I need a big boy's DC power supply. I need a camera that knows how to focus. That looks like normal, doesn't it? I mean, that kind of looks a lot like normal. Let's see. All right. Lewis did an excellent job as usual. Excellent. Yay, is my microphone fixed? I'm going to be so happy. That's the best thing that Lewis ever did. That looks a lot like normal. That looks so much like normal that I think that we should look at the green screen. Now I've turned off my thing. I think we should stick a screen on it and see whether or not this is actually, maybe there's nothing wrong with it. Wouldn't that be something? Wouldn't that be something? No, it's just bad parts. Who knew? All right, let's see. Let's go ahead and put on a test screen. So here we go. Now, when I use test screens, I like to use a screen that I can remove the backlight and shine a light through it so that I can kind of differentiate backlight from no image problems. So we're going to plug in a screen and we're going to plug in, let's see, we're going to plug back in the DC power supply and let's see if we can make it so you guys can see. I can't see anything. Now I can't. Lewis, you took away my ability to see what they're seeing. I don't know what you guys are seeing now. Did you hear that? That was like even a whisper. I would be super impressed. All right, so let's plug it back in the DC power supply. And we are going to look to see whether or not this caramel candy-coated phone, oh my God, that's like hard to even fit in there. All right, so let's kind of move this around so that we can show you guys what does it look like. Let's see. All right, so let's move this around. I think I'm going to change up the way I stream and just forget about this green screen idea for today and change this up. Let's do that. Let's see. All right, we'll just stick this here. Okay, so let's shine the microscope light under here, and let's prompt to boot and see what we can see. All right, we're going to prompt to boot. I'm going to prompt it to boot by plugging it into USB. And if I glance over at my DC power supply, I can see, it does look like a normal DC power supply reading. All right, okay. So let's see what happens. This should be booting. According to the DC power supply, this thing is totally alive, but I don't see anything on the screen. I don't see any image. There's no Apple logo, there's no nothing. All right, so let's see. Let's go with experience says that given the guy's explanation of the problem, which happened after a DIY screen replacement, and given the fact, I'm going to put this back, and I'm going to put back my green screen. Let's find my green screen filter. Let's see, filters, chroma key. And let's turn, there we go, back to normal-ish. All right, well, let's see. Focus, you fack. All right, let's see. Close enough. All right, we're gonna close that. Close, good enough. Move that back down over here where it goes. Great. All right. So let's kind of put together our story now. According to our calculations, the DC power supply says that this phone is probably booting. I mean, that was really similar to the phone that does boot. I think this phone's booting, but I think that for some reason it might have some kind of a USB problem because it doesn't seem to pull charging current and it didn't seem to be detected by iTunes. So maybe something's up with USB, I don't know. But it seemed to be booting normally. From the history, we can guess that definitely would be likely to have a backlight and an image problem. So let's see if we can just bring back image and see if this phone will actually boot if we can restore image. So let's go on the idea that it's got an image problem. So let's take a hike over to the schematics and try to understand how does image work in the iPhone 6s. So here's the schematic for the 6s. So whenever I'm trying to understand a problem, I like to, she swore, oh my God, did she? You're kidding, I would never. That is fake news. All right, so whenever I'm looking at some sort of a feature like, hey, how does something like image work, I start at the connector, because the connector's always got to be the beginning or the end of the problem. So where I plug in the screen is J4200. So let's go on a hunt. Tell us more about yourself, J4200. Let's see. All right, the caramel needs more salt, J4200. All right, so J4200 is the display connector, and holy smokes, that's a whole lot of different lines there. So, Jess Jones is a legend. Yeah. Lewis should get a green screen. Oh, he should absolutely get a green screen. All right, so we are looking at schematics. Only looking at schematics now? Oh, we're looking at schematics. Oh, there you go. All right, so where should we start? What do you guys think? Let's try to figure out what is power for image and try to get back image. I always work on image first and then backlight. I don't really care about backlight until I have image. So when I split the screen like that, I should be able to see that Apple logo, even if backlight's not working. There are some faults within image that make backlight not work. For example, if the thing can't detect that there's a screen there at all, then it's not going to produce backlight. So you don't want to kill yourself like trying to troubleshoot backlight until you have image first. So we're going to go after image, and let's start with image power. It might as well be image data, but we'll just pick power to start with because there is a signature problem. And we're going to go after our signature problems first. So for the iPhone 6s, signature problems for image are all over the place on the power line. So let's take a look there. All right, here we go. I like Lewis's setup. Me too. Lewis's setup is sweet. He's got his Stream Deck. He's got his overhead cam. Now that he fixed my microphone, I'm really thinking of upgrading to some of that stuff. I don't have a wall to attach anything. I'm personally looking up at a giant chalkboard for microsoldering training when we teach at that chalkboard. So we're constantly projecting for a whole class. So I don't have anything around me that I could like mount a camera on permanently. Here we are in dark bold. These are our image and touch power lines. Now we can kind of look through and guess that, well, these thin lines are probably data. Ooh, BL, that's probably backlight. Whoa, whoa, this is like some kind of one of the languages that has a ton of consonants, and it's just, oh my gosh, what can we make out of that? I see a lot of things like enables and power enable, sync, reset. These are going to be kind of data controls that are sort of yes or no. Do you detect a screen? Resetting the display. A lot of these have to do with touch. So Mason is a word with touch. Mason, touch. So remember, the 6S, the touch chips are moved off the board onto the screen. So we can ignore anything that has to do with touch because we're trying to work on image. So I'm going to go with, let's start over here in this section. So these are probably our image power lines. Not the bottom one, that's touch, but PP5V7 LCM. LCM is a word that is what I use to differentiate the really good students at Practical Board Repair School from the ones that I kind of have to coach a little bit more. I was not able to convince one student that, hey, what does LCM stand for? And we go look it up and spend some time on it. And he was convinced that it stood for least common multiple, and I was not able to change his mind. That was a tough week. But otherwise, LCM is a word that basically means screen, and it's power for lighting up the actual image, the pixels, the display, the video. So let's call all of that just image. So this 1V8 LCM is power for image. PP5V7 is power for image. And then we've got these AP to LCM reset. That's going to be an image reset line that needs to not have a short to ground or an open line. It goes straight to the CPU. All right, so let's see. Liquid crystal matrix is a great guess. I think it stands for liquid crystal module, just from the way that China screen sellers describe that. They will sell the LCM, they call it liquid crystal module. All right, so let's see. Lewis, paint all your equipment sparkling green. That would be super cool. What's the best test that we could do to just ask the question, hey, are these lines working? So let's think about that. There's really two tests that we could do. One is we could do a voltage test. Well, if it says 1V8 LCM, it should have 1.8 volts on it, 5V7, 5.7 volts. So we could hook this thing up to power, fire it up, and test for those voltages. But in order to do that, let's think, how would we actually do that? Here's a question for you guys. do you think that we would have to have the screen attached in order to test those voltages? Yes or no? Think about it. And if you said yes, you are right, because some of these lines on the other side of the connector detect the presence of the screen, LCM power enable. It tells the CPU, hey, there's a screen plugged in. If that's a 0, then it's not going to prompt the CPU to issue instructions, enables, to the chips that generate those display voltages. So without a screen plugged in, you're going to get 0 volts, but that doesn't necessarily mean that there's a problem. So if we wanted to do a voltage test, we would have to have this thing booted up under power with a screen plugged in, and then we would have to get our probes in there. Now it's under power without touching ground and actually take a voltage reading. That's tough to do. So it would be nice if we could do a voltage test quick and easy, but we can't because of clearance, and there's no place to stick a probe if you've got a screen on there. So what else can we do? We can do our favorite diode mode test. So a diode mode test is going to be an indirect way to look at the overall resistance of these lines. Because remember, how do lines fail? They can become short, they can become open, or the guy upstairs is not doing his job. And that's really the only 3 ways that something can fail. So we can really quickly detect short and open just by going down the connector with red probe on ground and black probe comparing values. Now, how do we know what these values are supposed to be? One way we could do it and find out what is the normal diode mode reading for one of these lines, one way I could do it is to get another 6S and just kind of compare back and forth. That is a great way to do it. Liquid crystal meth. Yes, that's undoubtedly right. 5 points for Gryffindor. So LCM, liquid crystal meth. I like it. Okay, so let's do plan B. What if we said, let's see, where is this thing? Let's take off the schematic and let's go speed up a zillion times faster and look at ZXW tool. So over here at ZXW land, we are going to open up the iPhone 6S. Here we go. iPhone 6S. Oh, we're going to stick some probes. Don't worry. Would it look for data or power or ground? Okay, so here is zillion times work. This is what in iPhone land we use instead of what you guys are used to of Paul Daniels' Boardview stuff. We use ZXW. Straight from China with love. All right, so we can click here on the J4200, the display connector, and then here's where the magic happens. Now you have to kind of pick your way through the Chineseium around here and find, aha, what if I click this? Dun dun. Aha, so I clicked resistance over on the left menu, which I think you guys can't see. And let's see, light controller module. Well, I liked liquid crystal meth way better. All right, now we've got these numbers. Now these numbers are generated by by users, mostly users in China. And one of the things that I really like about my multimeter that somebody sent me that just ran out of batteries, otherwise I would use it. I love this multimeter because it has the exact same diode mode readings as the XW. This is the one that we're gonna start stocking on iPad Rehab Supply. It's not fancy enough to connect to the internet or anything, don't get me wrong. All right, so let's look at the old school method, which is you guys are going to just believe me when I tell you what the multimeter says, because that's how I roll. Let's see, does this even have a light? Yeah, a little bit. All right, so there we go. Multimeter. So here's what we're going to do. Is there a PP bus on the iPhone? Yes, there is. It's called VCC main. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to do red probe on ground. So I am going to red probe on ground. I can park it right there. So here's my red probe on ground. And then I'm going to tell you what my multimeter says. And you guys are going to tell me if it's a match to the ZXW readings or not. All right, so what we're doing here on ZXW, let's just make sure that we're crystal clear. ZXW, this is the bottom of the connector. And these lines here are those power lines for image. So we're going to just kind of test in here and see if we can find a problem or not. All right, so we're going to start there. So let's see. Let's see what the deal is. All right. We're going to do red probe on ground. And flip this around so that it exactly matches what you're looking at on ZXW, red probe on ground. And then we'll, oh, I love this, how Lewis set that up for me a little bit. Let's do this one. Survey says diode mode reading is 0.455, so 0.455. And ZXW says it's 480, they mean 0.480, so a match! It's a match! Meaning this line is not short and it's not open, and it's not a problem. No short, no open, no care. All right, moving on. All right, next guy is 0.549, and ZXW, God, I can't read that. I'm like, I had to get a pair of readers. So embarrassing, like reading glasses, like old lady reading glasses. So terrible. It's just this week. All right, so 0.650, that's a match. All right, next one is red probe on ground, number 3. My multimeter says OL. All right, and on ZXW, it says that it's supposed to be 1.4, so 1405. Oh my gosh! Now this is not interesting because it is a giant troll. So prepare to be trolled. Since we have seen this troll before, we're going to deftly step around it, and here's why. The PN is a negative voltage. And so the reason why we use the convention of red probe on ground when every other time you use a multimeter, black probe goes on ground. So why the heck is all of the cell phone repair world putting red probe on ground for diode mode readings? And the answer is because for most lines, except for this one, most lines, red probe on ground, black reading is going to give you a number to the tune of 0.3 or 0.4 or 0.5 or something that's easy to understand. It's a low number. However, for a negative voltage rail like this one, red probe on ground is going to give you a very, very high number, like 1.4. Now, multimeters, once you cross their limit, OL stands for overload. I like to say open line, but overload means that it just says, I don't know, high. And therefore, it gets to be really, really tough to distinguish, is there really a problem there or not? So whenever you have one that's like that, where it's very high, the normal reading is very high, then you can do the opposite and do a black probe on ground and take the reading. Black probe on ground, I get 0.6. So if it was truly an open line, the drawbridge is blown up somewhere, it would be open line, overload, OL in both directions. But in this case, it's not. It's only reporting OL in the high direction. So that means it is normal, and there's nothing wrong. It's not actually open. This is a really common spot that people get trolled. So we're going to just kind of deftly cross around that, and we're going to go up to line number 4. So the fourth line here is supposed to be 0.305. Let's see, what is it? Red probe on ground. Red probe on ground. Line number 4 is, survey says, OL. That is an actual problem. OL. So now we've got OL instead of 0.305. That's a big deal. And we can even prove that by going in our reverse direction, OL. So we have OL. No matter what you do, there is an open on this line somewhere. So now we've got an actual problem. Let's find out what this line is. So this is that fourth line. Let's check it out. It is PP 1V8 LCM. Sounds important. Power line, LCM, sounds like image power. We have an open at the connector on image power. That sounds like a really big deal, and probably one that we should put some time into figuring out. So let's see what the deal is. Now, ZXW is a great tool. It's not a substitute for the schematic. So let's we can look at the line here on ZXW, but let's go back to the schematic where we can really understand it. So it was this fourth one here, PP 1V8 LCM. Let me find that. Where's the schematic? Schematic. Where are you? There it is. Aha. All right, where's my ZXW? Close that up. All right, back to the schematic. Okay, going home, 1V8 filter is blown. Good job, Drivesavers and other Houston company that had it for 8 months. Yeah, exactly. PP 1V8 LCM from the connector. Isn't that unbelievable, Chris? I mean, it just is. This is a relatively common fault. All right, copy, let's go on a hunt and say, where does this line go? So we're going to move over chat and let's paste it and let's follow it. So from the connector to, a filter. So there's a couple of caps. Caps can only fail short, so we don't really care about that. But this filter, FL4205, that could cause a problem. And then on the other side of FL4205, it becomes PP1V8. So if we look at PP1V8 itself, so we'll remember FL4205 and come back to that. If we look at PP1V8 itself and just kind of follow that around a little bit, it goes lots of places. Click, 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 all over the schematic. PP1V8, PP1V8, PP1V8 is everywhere. PP1V8 is the main line that all of the CPU's data is generated from. It's the top line for most of the data in the iPhone. It's everywhere. So it's really kind of like a brainstem line for the iPhone. So if we really had a big problem on 1V8, then the phone wouldn't be able to have that normal boot up sequence, which is part of the CPU doing okay and issuing all of its commands. So we know that our problem can't really be way up the tree on 1V8. So let's go back and take a look at that filter, FL4205. That could absolutely cause an open line. So let's find out. Where is that sucker? FL4205, where are you? And the schematic will show us somewhere around here. Okay. FL4205. So FL4205 is one in a string of 3 that are right near the LCD connector. All right, let's take a look at that on the actual board itself. So let's move that over here. Let's see. Yeah, they checked battery VCC, shorted the backlight anode. They've tried everything. All righty. Hey, Jessa, electric design engineer tech with 40 years under my belt. Love your stuff. I bet you, Paul, would be able to find a blown filter on an image power line in a phone that has no image. All right, let's go ahead and click off this. And this is really one of, I love this common fault. We use it for teaching, and it's one of the ones that you can generally find because you just need to sort of apply your strategies, like learning how to use diode mode in order to find faults. If you go down the connector and measure all of image power and image data, as long as you learn to skip that troll of the negative voltage line, then you'll be able to find this, and it's kind of a fun one. It's especially because once you look, then you can kind of tell. All right, so where is this sucker? Let's see. All right, so there's 3 dudes in a row, and here they are. 1, 2, 3, and it's the middle guy. Now, there's a suspicious-looking bit of solder here, but there's bits of solder everywhere. There's a bit of solder here on VCC. There's a big old blob of solder there, so I'm not really sure why that one is there. But if you really look, this guy looks... you can see a little bit better under the microscope. This guy looks kind of punched in the face. Looks like he's had a hard night. It looks like he, had to have an Uber guy come bring him his keys, like way after he was supposed to go home. Like that kind of thing. Alrighty. So let's see. Let's go ahead and use our multimeter to just ask, hey, filter, are you a wire? So let's just do straight up continuity mode and just test. All right, how does it feel to have 1,000 people watching? It feels just like when 5 people are watching, exactly the same. All right, so let's take a look and say, hey, how you doing, filter? Are you a wire? Are you? Now, if it's a wire, it should beep across. Let's say, does it? Nope. It does not. You. All right, so that guy's a blown filter. Now here's a tip. When you're measuring a filter, it's really easy to kind of measure across it like we just did, but that can sometimes troll you because a lot of times the way filters will fail in iPhones, that short to ground, that sudden burst of energy will just pop them off the board, but the filter itself will be intact. So it's kind of like ejecting a quarter out of the circuit breaker. The quarter's okay. And so it's better to find a way to kind of measure through the filter. So if there was a way that we could measure kind of on the outside of this 1V8 filter, you know, like down here or some other component, then we would. Then we could measure from here. And then we could measure all the way to the connector where we should get a beep if that is an intact filter. Jessa, do you play Dota? Noda, but I have downloaded it twice and said maybe I would play. All right, let's get busy. This filter needs to be replaced, and then we're going to just see, back to our original question, of whether or not the phone actually boots. It looks like it would boot, but we don't really know for sure. And apparently 8 to 12 months worth of America's finest data recovery engineers says that it doesn't boot. So what do we know? All right, let's try to figure this out. Okay. Why wouldn't women be able to? All right, let's see. I am going to use my favorite, the mini hot tweezers, and we are going to just suck this little sucker right off. So we'll just desolder it. Easy peasy. Okay. And we are going to grab another one. So let's just pick another one. Now, you know that something is common when you actually stock like strips of the part. That's when you know something is pretty common, when you can just reach out right in front of you. Don't even have to get up and walk anywhere. And get another one. All right, so here we go. So we're going to stick that roughly where it goes. And let's see. Man, I'm not used to seeing so little flux. This is an appropriate amount of my favorite flux, which would be ChipQuick 291. Yes, you heard it here, ChipQuick 291, the not so popular ChipQuick 291. And there we go. All right, just make sure. Okay, now we're going to go back and use the multimeter. Now, the easiest way to ask, hey, is that thing really soldered down on both sides, is to go back to the connector and see, now does our diode mode reading match what it's supposed to? And it's supposed to be something like, 0.3 or 0.4. All right, so let's go. Here was our multimeter. This is the trust-based multimeter from Jessa at iPad Rehab. Trust-based multimeter, I just tell you what it says, and you just trust me that I don't have the mental capability to stream and manage the multimeter and manage switching all of these things and know exactly how to lie to you about the wrong reading. That would just be like crazy. I can't imagine that anybody would have that much talent. I don't think anybody would have that kind of talent to be able to lie like that. All right, diode mode. And let's see what it is now. So we're going to go red probe on ground. I'm going to just shove it here in a screw bracket. And we're going to measure that fourth pin on the connector. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. 0.349. 0.349. Yay. So now that problem, that was definitely a problem. We had an open line on 1V8 LCM connector image power, and we solved that. So let's see if that makes any difference. All right, so we're going to move this over, and we're going to try to play some charades here with the camera. I'm supposed to see only flux, not components. You're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong. Yes, you will notice in the industry that there is a vast difference between people that sell flux. I guess that's not really true because we also sell flux, but we sell the other kind of flux that nobody likes. All right, so we're going to grab this. What program is she using for viewing schematics? For iPhones, we use ZXW tool. ZXW stands for Zillion Times Work, and it is a piece of software that fell off a truck in China a long time ago, and a guy said, hey, why don't I put a little intuitive interface on this, which was undoubtedly software that seems to be as if it were generated for actual building the boards in China. Seems to be pretty comprehensive. And then it's kind of cloud added to, mostly in Chinese. It's a hoot. I mean, it's really funny if you look at ZXW. Oh, Lewis clipped it so you can't see this, but there's a really funny section called maintenance case where it will go over in the universal language of pictures and multimeters, and you can kind of see what's going on with it. All right, I'm going to grab the camera, and let's see. First, let's get rid of Let's get rid of the yield green screen. All right, this is delay of game, time to get a snack. Green screen, hello. All right, now we're gonna grab this and make it so that you guys can see what is up here. All right, so I've plugged in just my straight up. Let's make sure that I can see what you guys can see. All right, let's make this work. This is just a little camera. There we go. All right, so this is, if you're just joining us, this is a screen that I use when I'm testing. I've taken the backlight back cover off so that I can see without, whether or not it has backlight, doesn't matter. I'll be able to see image kind of through the screen from the light of the microscope. So I really like that. So what we're going to do to this board is we're going to connect it to DC power supply, which seemed, could be wrong, but seemed to be really close to a normal current consumption pattern when we looked at this board at the beginning. So we're going to plug that in, and now we're going to see whether or not we have image. And that will really tell us whether or not the device is actually booting or not. So I'm going to try to make it so that camera can see. Let's see. That's pretty seriously awkward, but we'll give it a try. It's very practical. All right, so now I'm going to grab USB, and we'll just prompt to boot this way. So we're going to prompt to boot from USB input. So there's two ways to prompt an iPhone. All right, prompt, prompt, prompt. And hey, I see an Apple logo and I see a backlight. Hooray! All right, so let's see. I'm going to add some light here from my phone so that you guys can see it a little bit. There we go. We got an Apple logo, baby. All right, now let's get trolled and watch it just sit here in boot loop, and then we'll spend all night long trying to figure out why. Yay! That's a lock screen. Yay! Haha! That was touch, baby. That was touch. All right, where's this guy's passcode? Oh my gosh, it looks like we were right. It did boot. And all we need to do is to get that passcode in there, and we are going to bring home a happy Christmas for Scott, as long as he gave us the correct passcode. What is it? All right, let's see. I'm sure he would be happy for all of his new friends to see. All right, let's see if I can get this to bring back. So something's up with USB. I can tell that... Hey, where we go. US accessory may not be supported. That sounds like a TriStar problem. And I can see that it is actually not charging. So it's consuming 0 charging current, which that sounds like why somebody would have thought that it didn't actually boot. Because if it doesn't recognize USB and it doesn't have image, that seems a whole lot like, and then it doesn't boot. But it does. Let's see, though. I got to know, do we have a path to data here or not? Let's find out. So we are going to try to wake it back up again. So it seems like USB, yep, is able to wake it up. Let's see. Do we have touch? Yep, touch. Let's see. It's hard to do this on stream for sure. Let's see. Now we have the equivalent of fan spin, but I want to know, do we have data spin? Do we have a path to data? All right, okay. Don't look at his passcode, everybody. Don't look at his passcode, entire world. Let's see. Don't look at this guy's passcode. Here, you guys have to look over there. All right, let's see. I gotta see it. Touch seems like it might be a little bit wonky, but I think it is working. So give me a second to try to not embarrass this guy by showing the whole world his passcode. All right, so let me see, what was it? All right, I already forgot it. That's bad for short-term memory. Okay, got it. This one, it likes to double touch that second number. Come on, we are going to get it. I know it. Come on, you can do it. Show me. All right, come on. Come on. Come on. Yay! Oh, now isn't that cute? Look at that. Oh, look at the baby pictures. No, that is super, super, super cute. So that is a path to data. And this is, let's go back to his note. So this was, for you guys that missed the beginning of this, we've got a path to data. Very, very cool. It's just so great. This is what I really, really love about this job is tomorrow being able to call up Scott. I mean, it really couldn't be a more fun Christmas present to be able to give somebody than to be able to call up this guy and be able to tell him that he's going to be able to have all of these pictures and videos that were so precious to his wife, to have that under the tree on Christmas morning. It's just it doesn't get any better than that, to be able to make that call and to let Scott know that if we look back at, let's go back to here. If we look back, if you guys missed the note from the beginning, I want to share that again because it's just so, so great. So here we are at the note. So this was, so now it's recovered, and it makes it so much more fun to read the note that he had a lapse of judgment. He tried to do a DIY screen change. He could smell something fried, and he couldn't get it to work. He took it to a reputable data recovery place in Houston, who had it for 8 months. And then he tried using USB keyboard, couldn't get it. Then he had the device sent to Drivesavers. Drivesavers, I know for sure, does the cheapest quote they have is $1,800. So Drivesavers was not able to recover this phone on at least an $1,800 quote, maybe even more since it would have had a prior repair attempt. And Drivesavers said that it would not power on, would not connect to iTunes, and they sent it back. So he was worse off than before. And it was sad because he's, beating himself up for not having it backed up. I mean, so many people don't have it backed up, and so many people beat you up for it. Like, oh, why don't you just back it up? And he says the pictures and videos are priceless to my wife, and he's just so desperate. He's trying to do anything he can. It's just so precious, and I'm so, so happy to be able to call him up and give him the good news. So this was from iFixit.com. So thanks to iFixit for kind of hooking us up, and thanks for those of you guys that answer questions on iFixit that referred these guys to us, because this is really, really great. So it's a good little heartwarming lifetime story for Lewis's channel. Hopefully, I guess this is the kind of girly content that this channel just needs. A little Christmas lifetime movie of board repair. So this is so exciting. I can't tell you. It's really, really fun to be able to do these jobs, and it's also kind of annoying that this poor guy really, just had a pretty straightforward problem that, it sucks for this guy that he had to be in this kind of agony. This should have been a straightforward fix for the first guy that saw that. Alrighty, so so there we go. That is it. It's going to be time for me to suck off all of these pictures, and we're going to give a call to Scott tomorrow. And on iPad Rehab channel, we've got a couple that are like really fun ones that we're going to call the folks. And I was thinking of I wanted to do like a little Christmas video of just the fun of calling up the people to give them the good news, because that's just my favorite part. All right, so Drivesavers has never claimed to do repairs before doing data extraction. Well, there is no way to get data off of a phone other than by making it work again, which Drivesavers doesn't have any way to get data off of the phone. I used to think that they did. I sent them a phone years ago, and then when because I thought that they could, and I remember them saying, no, it's not recoverable. And I was like, why? Can't you guys read it off the NAND? And they're like, no, that's impossible. You just got to make the phone work again. And I was like, well, what did you guys do to it? And I remember them saying, we straightened up a couple of caps. Oh, okay. All right. So if you have a phone that you need data recovery for, go to iPadRehab.com and tell us about your phone and get a quote for data recovery or sign up for training. We love to teach, and we do that a lot. We teach a class for only eight, once a month, and you can find out about that at iPadRehab.com. And I'm going to click stop streaming. So Merry Christmas to all of you guys. And thank you, Lewis, for letting me have a little bit of time to do a fun, heartwarming data recovery on your channel. And I hope that the Uber guy brought back your keys and that you can get some much needed rest. All right, that is it for me.